Dear son, I want to tell you something I should have said when you were 8 years old, sitting on the edge of your bed, trying very hard not to cry. I remember the way your jaw went tight, the way you swallowed, the way you looked at the ceiling like it owed you something. You were practicing, even then, practicing the art of becoming someone who didn't need anything. I watched you do it, and I said nothing. This letter is about what that cost you, and what it cost me, and what I hope, with everything I have left, it doesn't have to cost you forever. This is a letter about the boy who learned that his feelings were too much, and the man he became because no one told him otherwise. You were not born quiet. I need you to know that. You came into this world loud and demanding, and absolutely certain that what you felt mattered. You cried when you were hungry. You laughed until you couldn't breathe. You ran to me when something frightened you, arms out, no hesitation. You trusted that I would hold what you brought me. I don't know the exact moment that changed. I wish I did. I wish I could point to a Tuesday, a specific kitchen, a specific version of my own tired face, and say, there. That was where it started. But it wasn't one moment. It was 100 small ones. It was me saying you're fine before I'd even checked if you were. It was the way I tightened when you cried. Not with cruelty, but with discomfort I didn't know how to explain. It was every time I handed you back to yourself a little too fast. I was taught the same thing, by the way. My father and his father before him, they all believed that a boy's feelings were a problem to be managed. That softness was a liability. That the fastest way to protect a son was to make him need less. I thought I was doing better than they did. I wasn't. What I didn't understand, what no one told me, and what I'm telling you now, is that when a child's feelings are treated as inconvenient, the child doesn't stop having them. He just stops showing them to you. And then, slowly, he stops showing them to himself. Here is what silence costs. Not the quiet kind. Not the peaceful kind. The other kind. The kind you learned. The kind that sits in your chest, like a stone you swallowed years ago and forgot was there. I watched you get older, and I told myself you were fine. You were capable. You were strong. I pointed to your competence like it was evidence of your wholeness. I didn't ask what was underneath it. I remember you at 16. Something had happened. A friend, I think, or maybe a girl. I never knew exactly. And you came home and said you were tired and went to your room. I almost knocked on that door. My hand was raised. And then I told myself you needed space. I walked away. What I know now is this. You weren't asking for space. You were waiting to see if I would come anyway. That is what we do when we have learned that our pain is a burden. We put it just out of reach. And then we watch. To see if anyone will think it's worth crossing the distance. I didn't cross it. And something in you recorded that. Filed it away with all the evidence you've been collecting since you were 8 years old. Don't bring it. They don't want it. Hold it yourself. Feelings don't disappear just because you dam them up. They just move underground. They find other ways out, in the way you go cold when someone gets too close, in the anger that appears without warning, in the exhaustion that has no name, in the numbness that settles over the years like a second skin. That's not strength. That's a river turned inward, eroding the ground beneath you where no one can see. Now I want to say the harder thing, the thing I haven't said out loud before. I think part of me was afraid of your feelings, not because they were too big, but because they reminded me of my own, the ones I'd been keeping behind the same dam my whole life. If I sat with yours, I'd have to sit with mine, and I didn't know if I could survive that, so I kept moving. I kept fixing, advising, redirecting. I gave you solutions when you needed presence. I gave you my competence when you needed my vulnerability. I'm sorry for that. Not in the way that asks for your forgiveness right now. That's not what this is. I'm sorry in the way that simply names it. Puts it down on the table between us and says, this happened. I see it. Here is the complexity of it, because nothing is simple. I also loved you, completely, without condition. Both things were true at the same time. I failed you, and I loved you, and those two things lived in the same body, in the same father, on the same Tuesday. I need you to hold both of those, not because it excuses anything, but because if you can only ever see it one way, you'll spend your life either defending me or condemning me, and either one will cost you something you can't afford to lose. Feelings are not a weakness in a man. They are information. They are how you know what matters to you. They are how you stay connected to yourself and to other people. Without them, you make decisions from a map with half the territory missing. You are not broken for having them. You are not weak for needing to speak them. You were never too much. I was just not enough, not yet, to receive them. So here is what I hope for you now. Please, son, find the people in your life who do not flinch, who do not get uncomfortable when the real thing shows up, who don't hand you back to yourself before you've finished speaking. You will know them by the way you feel in their presence, not lighter, necessarily, but more real, more solid, like you're allowed to take up the full amount of space your body actually occupies. Those people exist. You may have to look. You may have to risk being wrong a few times. Someone will prove themselves unable to hold it, and that will hurt. And that will not mean you should have kept it hidden. It means they were the wrong person. Keep looking. Please, son, when the feeling comes, don't send it underground. I know the reflex by now. I know how automatic it is. The jaw tightening, the sealing, the I'm fine arriving in your throat before you've even decided to say it. You don't have to fix that overnight, but notice it. Just notice it and know what it is. Not weakness, not inconvenience. A river, still moving, still looking for somewhere to go. And if you have children someday, please, when they come to you with something too big and you feel the discomfort rise in your chest, cross the distance anyway. Knock on the door. Stay in the room. Let them see a man who isn't afraid of what he feels. That is the thing I could not give you that you can give them. And maybe in giving it to them, you'll give it to yourself. I see you, not the version of you that has it handled, not the one who knows the right thing to say and says it easily. The one at 8 years old, jaw tight, looking at the ceiling. I see him. He deserved someone who would sit down next to him and say, "You don't have to swallow it. I'm here. I can hold this with you." I should have been that person. I am trying, in whatever way I still can, to be that person now. You are not too much. You never were. The silence you learned was never the truth about you. It was the truth about the room you were in, and you can leave that room. You are allowed to make noise. You are allowed to come undone in front of someone who loves you. You are allowed to be known. That is not something you have to earn. It is something you already are. With all my heart, your father.